wanted to bring today's episode to the podcast talking about what to do with stress. And this is day number 3 of our holiday series. There is a lot to deal with mental emotional stress, but what are some other stressors that may have been missed? And are those keys to unlocking why it's not working for you? So excited for you to listen to today's episode as we dig into the different types of stressors that can impact your ability to conceive. Hey there, I'm Sarah Clark, founder of Fab Fertile and your host. I believe the functional approach is the first step for anyone struggling with infertility, and my aim is to help you get pregnant naturally. So today we're talking about, in day number 3 of our holiday series, different type of stressors and what this could mean for you when you're on the fertility journey. So this episode is for you is if you are feeling stressed, but maybe you think you're missing something. This episode is for you if you don't feel stressed, and maybe you think you're missing something that can help optimize your pregnancy success. So your mental health, your mental emotional side of things, you feel fine. Or maybe you feel very stressed and you already feel like you've made so many changes and you're wondering if there's any other missed healing opportunities that can help fast track your pregnancy, your chances of pregnancy success. Or maybe this episode is for you if you're thinking about IVF, but the process fills you with apprehension and stress, and you really want to get pregnant naturally so you can optimize your health and have a healthy pregnancy. So thanks so much for listening. I'm so thankful that you're here. Make sure you hit subscribe. And if you know someone else who is on the fertility journey, please share this podcast with them. Okay, so we're going to be going over some of the different types of stressors. Many times we just equate stress with mental emotional stress. So we're going to be going through other types of stress as well as mental emotional stress. So during the holiday times, obviously, mental emotional stress can potentially be high, dealing with, family dynamics and people they haven't seen in a while. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so first of all, we're going to talk about structural stress. This is when there's something out of alignment in your body, be it a neck injury, back injury, any kind of injuries or pain that you have in your body, being able to visit a chiropractor perhaps, or have physical therapy. Maybe you have adhesions from past surgery or scar tissue, things like that. So is there structural stress going on? What's been missed there? So that's a stressor to look at. Environmental stress. So, when in the couples we work with in our couples coaching program, one of the first things we tell them is to, switch out their personal care and their cleaning products. And like the average woman has 107 chemicals on her body that when she leaves the house in the morning. And so, not all at once. You want to, as each product expires, find a non-toxic option. You can go to the Skin Deep database or use the app Think Dirty and, check out to see what's in your personal care and your cleaning products. First thing to do would be for sure to switch out your feminine hygiene. So getting rid of those toxic pads and tampons, switching that around right away. The rest of the stuff, as each one expires, you can move it, but we really recommend, because of all that, those toxins and chemicals and dyes that are on the pads and tampons, conventional pads and tampons, which are then, putting in your most intimate spot, your vagina. So switching that out right away. Other environmental stressors are your water, making sure that your water is filtered. There's tap water, you can have under over 300, contaminants in it, parasites and more. So making sure that you have filtered water is key. And also with your food, we recommend doing organic. So making sure that your food is free from pesticides and herbicides. A lot of the food can be sprayed with glyphosate, which is linked to infertility and a whole host of other things. So there's the Dirty Dozen, which you may have heard of, from the Environmental Working Group, making sure those top 12 foods are organic for sure. Then there's the Clean 15, which they say those ones aren't as heavily sprayed. Do your very best you can there. Obviously, if it's, cost could be prohibitive to you. I also look at that clean, good food is not cheap and cheap food is not good. So, although the price of food in general has gone up, as we know, and organic food is more expensive. So, look into that, at least the dirty dozen, to make sure those are organic. And, try to, if you have a local delivery box, you can get that delivered. I just have a local veggie box and local meat box that's delivered. So that can help to minimize those pesticides and herbicides. And actually that stuff ends up being, over the long haul, like with the food piece, if you actually do some meal planning and batch cooking, that stuff's cheaper. Like, instead of just running out to get, takeout, or even, not batch cooking. When you're doing all that, you're using all the food, and it goes longer. It takes a little bit of planning. It's not my first go-to. Like, typically for me, I'm like, oh, let's just do things quickly. But if I spend like an hour or two on the weekend and just getting your things prepared for the week, it just makes everything go so much so much more smoothly. So consider making sure that your food is organic. Air filters, you can have plants house plants can help filter out the air, or you can get one of those air filters. That is true, like really key if you're you could have mold in your house. So potentially, if you've ever had water damage or there's been a leak, consider looking at mold remediation. That can be impacting your health and your fertility. We see that many times. The light is environmental stress. So blue light, be it blue and green light, can impact your melatonin. That will then impact both male and female fertility. So making sure that you're minimizing your contact with that using, blue light blocking glasses. Obviously, the sponsor of my podcast is Blue Blocks. So check them out, and you can get a discount on some blue light blocking glasses. And they also have light bulbs too. So you can put a little light in they have a yellow one for the day and they have a red one at night. So it's kind of that campfire effect, where when you put the red one on, everything just kind of calms down, and then it helps with your melatonin production. And then as you ease into bed, you can just actually sleep a little better. So, and then also EMFs, moving your laptop, your phone, your TV, making sure to minimize your exposure to that. Never put your phone on your body, and literally never put your phone to your ear. The EMFs coming into your brain, throw that on speaker. And then also, a lot of people will be using their laptop on their lap. Make sure you have some sort of protection on there. I have one of these EMF blocking little boards, I guess, I put on my lap if I'm doing that. So especially because that's going on your reproductive organs. You want to make sure you are not putting the phone or the laptop, on your reproductive organs. So structural stress, making sure if there's any kind of things out of alignment with your body, if there's any pain or structural stress that you may have going on, and environmental stress, the personal care, the cleaning products, your water, your air filter, your blue light, your EMFs. The next one we have is the stress, such as physiological stress. So gut infections that we see with people with, low AMH and high FSH, diminished ovarian reserve, premature ovarian insufficiency. There's always something going on in the gut, be it a parasite, a bacterial infection, a fungal infection. There's some sort of infection going on. And if your body is dealing with an infection, doesn't matter how clean your diet is and you've taken out dairy and gluten. If there's an infection, you have to, optimize that. Maybe there's a food sensitivity that you've had. Potentially you could be intolerant to avocados, lettuce, seemingly healthy foods, which then that is causing stress in your body. Blood sugar imbalance, which we see all the time, which then impacts your hormones. So if you've got those cravings, you're feeling hangry, you have mood swings, irregular cycles, all sorts of blood sugar can impact all parts of your body. It is key. We work on this for months to help stabilize blood sugar for both men and women in our program. So looking at that is key. Thyroid imbalance is another physiological stress. I've done a lot of podcast episodes on thyroid imbalance. We see either subclinical thyroid issue. So it's not the thyroid, it's actually the gut or the liver. We see hypothyroid issues. So people that are on medication, but not addressing the diet and lifestyle changes that actually put the thyroid off to begin with. Again, we're not diagnosing, we're reviewing blood chemistry and educating. And so then you can, be empowered to know, because typically, you may have been recommended a pill, which is only a Band-Aid approach. Or we have many people coming in, either there could be elevated antibodies. So has an autoimmune issue been missed for you, which is key to address. Diet, lifestyle, and also looking at functional side of things can be key to helping address the thyroid. So is it undiagnosed Hashimoto's or Graves' disease for you? Like we see that all the time as a theme, something going on with the thyroid, subclinical hypothyroidism, typically more hypo than hyper. And then we see more Hashimoto's rather than Graves. So really digging into optimizing the thyroid, and our Fab Fertile method is key to help with that. So that physiological stress, the mental emotional stress. So dealing, being on the fertility journey in itself is stressful. And then also making some of these changes can be like, why do I got to make these changes? Everyone else is getting pregnant without having to change their whole diet and, revamp their whole entire life. That can be stressful. So having someone, in your corner that's gone through it and, can then help you because there could be some self-doubt. You may not feel that it's working. You may, as I say, most people that come to me, they've tried naturally for 2 years, or they've had at least one failed IUI or IVF. And so they've made a lot of changes. They've already had their solution and it hasn't worked. So dealing with grief, frustration, anger, like all of this, and you might just be like stuck up in that sympathetic, like fight or flight, and your body just wants to, come back into that rest and digest, into the parasympathetic, where we kind of get to that receiving piece. So looking at reframing, looking at affirmations, how do we deal with the mental emotional stress? And, during the holiday season, in the next episode, we're going to be talking about how to deal with triggers with families and all sorts of stuff going on. That could just get, our triggers up crazy, especially as we deal with things differently during this holiday season, depending on what's happening. If you're going out or if you're staying in, whatever it may be, things have been different for the last couple of years. So as we sort of start to poke our head out, that in itself can be triggering. So mental emotional stressors are key to deal with. As I say, most people we work with, they're like the type A, busy professional. They might even like, I'm not stressed. I'm totally fine. I already got that. I've looked at the stress piece. I've maybe had therapy. I've already dealt with that piece. Have you really? Have you really actually, talk to someone about it? Someone that's, we can never understand exactly what you're going through, but someone who's been on the fertility journey, to be able to get that out and to have someone call you out on your own stuff in times of default. What do you do? Do you, we all have these patterns. How do you cope? And, is it anger? Is it sadness? Is it frustration? Is it like impatience? What comes up for you during, when you're exposed to these different triggers and the mental emotional stress? So that is key. That all impacts your, mental emotional stress impacts your biochemical side of things as well. So, so basically you can, like with self-care, obviously hashtag self-care. And if we could, all day long take care of ourselves and put ourselves first, wouldn't that be wonderful? But it is to say to yourself, I deserve some time for myself each day to either, if you love journaling. Sometimes I've gone through phases in my life where I've journaled. I'm not in that phase right now, so I haven't journaled in ages. Meditate. I've gone in and out of meditation. I feel better when I meditate. I know, like when I meditate, I just feel calmer, better, more in touch with my intuition, which then that helps with impatience. Because impatience is really like anger and fear underneath there. So because you just want things to go fast on your plan, and you feel controlling, and then it just, especially in this fertility journey, like banging your head against the wall and nothing's working, and you're most people that we work with, like they've got the research hat on and they're ready to go. So and then there's a super amount of impatience, and it could be like when we say we're not going to tell someone to relax, because that's just not helpful to anyone, but it is, how do you prioritize yourself? Where are you like, where do you get joy? What makes you happy? Where do you got to set boundaries where you're like, you know what? No, I don't want to do that. No, no, no. And say yes to the things that you want to say yes to. Being able to, as we say, notice your triggers, acknowledge your emotions. You're like, get support, talk to your partner, to a friend, to a coach, to able to acknowledge what it is you're going through. A lot of times you feel like shame and guilt. We're like, oh my goodness, I should feel happy for the person that just, announced their pregnancy. Well, it's okay to be, feel happy for them, but sad for you. So, and then like the connection piece, how do you, this journey can pull you and your partner apart or closer together. So how do you use meal times to connect, and date nights, and maybe some home cooking and things like that, exercise, like walking together, those like self-care things, either for yourself, obviously self-care, or then bringing in your partner to, do things together that bring you guys joy, rather than it's just all about baby making, because that can just be frustrating. Go to bed early together and, increase your intimacy. And as I say, it doesn't need to all be about baby making. How do we, and typically if someone's not doing something for you, it's like, well, what do you do? What can you do for them, for your partner? It's kind of like, oh, my partner's not doing this for me. Well, what have you done for him or her lately? So, that piece of self-care and then connecting more with your partner can then help with the mental emotional stress. So as we say today, the different stressors: structural stress, things that are out of alignment, environmental stress. We talked about your personal care and your cleaning products, your water, and more. The mental emotional stress. How do you just pick one thing? And over the holiday season, is it journaling? Is it meditation? Is it, mindfulness throughout the day, like mindful walking? Is it just simply like, you know what, I'm just going to notice when I feel anxious, or if I feel depressed, or if I feel like I'm stuck in comparison, or if I'm just going to notice those feelings and go, well, that's interesting. What's brought it up? And it could just be, maybe it's an off day, and we all have off days. That's totally fine. Right. But if it goes on for a while, like what's bringing up, and maybe scrolling on Instagram kind of brings up that comparison, or like, where is it? Where are you not, like, what is underneath there? And there could be a lot of grief, right, too. So being able to talk to someone about this and be able to get this out, so you can, you can move through it instead of pushing it down. And then that physiological stress. Is there a biochemical thing going on with your thyroid, with your food sensitivities, with gut infections? And then that actually starts to help with your mood. It's interesting on that piece. I literally used to think I had anxiety for years. And turns out there was food sensitivities and gut infections, fungal infections. And then that just like keys up the anxiety. If people are dealing with panic attacks and ADHD and things and more, there could be physiological stress going on, and like biochemical, and we just think it's us. So you are not like an irritable, anxious, depressed person. Is there something from a biochemical thing going on? Which all of this impacts your fertility. So it is, and for you and I, you're here right now and you're looking for a plan for 2022 to kind of like, what are you going to do differently for 2022, is to look at all of these. And our Fab Fertile Method really helps to, fast track it, puts it all together. And, we specialize in low AMH and high FSH, diminished ovarian reserve, and premature ovarian insufficiency, so that you can, figure out why it's not working and optimize your chances of pregnancy success. A lot of people we work with have been through multiple failed IVFs. They've been a poor responder. They've had failed cycles. They've had canceled cycles with IVF. It hasn't worked. And they've been told, donor eggs are their only option. And they're making these changes in a very short period of time, 6 months to a year. They're actually getting pregnant naturally or improving their chances at the fertility clinic. So there's things, like, the good news is there's things you can do. It's not about focusing on that low AMH and thinking like it's game over and you're done. If you haven't looked at some of these things that we're talking about, 2022, like getting a plan, you and your partner together, having an open mind, and being really ready to, look at these things with support. So all you need to do is go to Fab Fertile, FabFertile.com, and click on the apply to a supercharge your fertility discovery call. So I don't want you to waste time doing things that, are only going to set you back. And so all you need to do is apply and get started on the journey to pregnancy now. Just go to fabfertile.com. So FAB fertile.com. Take care.